"Mother, I'm back. He saved me." The alien queen weeps as her daughter returns with a human. John leaned against the railing of the observation deck, staring at the faint blue glow of distant suns. Space was quiet here, but John had learned that silence often hid danger. He was a trader, moving supplies between systems, but this route was dangerous, abandoned by most. Pirates and mercenaries often hunted here, and wrecks of old ships drifted like ghosts in the void. That was when he noticed something strange, a faint light blinking far ahead, moving slowly, almost drifting. At first he thought it was debris, maybe a dead shuttle. But as he focused, he saw a shape inside the glow. It was a small pod, battered and scorched, drifting without control. Something inside it moved. John frowned. He was not a hero, not really. His life had been ordinary, filled with work and quiet moments, but something about that pod called to him. He pressed a button, opening a channel to the control deck. "I see a pod out there," he said. "Looks like someone inside could be alive." The pilot of the ship, a quiet man named Luke, shrugged. "Could be a trap, could be a corpse. What do you want to do?" "I'm going to get it," John said, already moving to the docking controls. There was a stubborn edge to his voice, a determination he didn't fully understand himself. "If someone is alive, we can't just leave them." It took hours to reach the pod. John maneuvered carefully through floating debris and old wrecks. Every small movement of the ship was tense, and his eyes never left the pod. Finally, they reached it. John lowered the small mechanical arm of the docking system and attached it to the pod. Slowly, it was pulled inside. The hatch opened with a hiss. Inside, John saw a girl, small, with pale blue skin that shimmered faintly under the emergency lights. Her eyes were wide, large and golden. She looked human at first, but there was something otherworldly about her. Her hair, silver and soft, fell across her shoulders, and her body was bruised and cut in places. She was unconscious, and her breathing was shallow. John's heart tightened. He had never seen anyone like her, but instinct told him she was important. He carefully lifted her from the pod and carried her to the small medical bay. Luke followed, curious but silent. "Who is she?" Luke asked finally, unable to hide his surprise. "I don't know," John said, "but she's alive. That's all that matters right now." The medical bay was cramped, but John had supplies. He cleaned her wounds, wrapped them carefully, and monitored her breathing. Hours passed, and she remained unconscious. He could not tell what species she was or where she came from. Her body was fragile, but she had a quiet strength, a presence that made him uneasy in a way he couldn't explain. When she finally stirred, it was slow. Her golden eyes blinked against the bright lights, and she whispered something in a language John could not understand. "Hey," John said gently, "you're safe now, you're on my ship." The girl tried to speak again, but her voice was weak, barely a sound. She looked at him, confusion and fear in her eyes. John realized that she probably did not understand him. "It's okay," he said softly. "I won't hurt you." The girl finally nodded slightly. She seemed to relax a little, though every movement was careful, as if she was testing him. Over the next few days, John took care of her. He gave her food, clean clothes, and a place to rest. He noticed that she ate little, and when she did, she ate slowly, as if tasting the food for the first time. She never spoke much, but sometimes she hummed quietly, a soft sound that filled the small cabin with a strange beauty. He decided to give her a name. She had not told him her own, and her real name was unknown. He called her Lyra. It felt right, gentle but strong. Lyra watched him with careful eyes. At first, she was suspicious of every movement, every gesture. She had clearly been hurt before, and John did not want to frighten her. But slowly, she began to trust him. One evening, John sat with her in the small observation room. The stars glimmered outside the glass, and the quiet hum of the ship surrounded them. Lyra reached out a small hand, touching the window as if she could touch the stars. "They are beautiful," she whispered, her voice soft but full of wonder. John smiled. "They are. I've been looking at them for years. You never get tired of it." She nodded, watching the stars in silence. Then she turned to him, and for the first time she spoke clearly in a language he understood. "Why did you save me?" she asked. John paused. It was a question he had never answered before, even to himself. He shrugged. "I don't know. It seemed like the right thing to do." She studied him, as if trying to understand him. Then she nodded, quietly accepting the answer. Over the next weeks, John learned more about her. Lyra was not like any human or alien he had met. She had knowledge of distant worlds, of cultures and politics far beyond his reach. She spoke of a place ruled by a queen, a ruler of immense power. John did not know what to make of it. He only knew that Lyra had been running from something, though she did not say what. One night alarms blared. John woke to the sound of the ship shaking. He rushed to the control deck and saw a small fleet of ships approaching, weapons drawn. Lyra stood behind him, eyes wide, tense but steady. "Who are they?" she asked. "Trouble," John muttered. He did not know if they were pirates, mercenaries, or something worse. But he knew one thing: he would not leave Lyra behind. Not now. The fleet hailed them. The screen showed strange, insect-like faces, eyes glinting with hostility. Their language was alien, but the meaning was clear. They wanted Lyra. John clenched his fists. "We're not going anywhere," he said firmly. "Not without her." The fleet opened fire and the small ship shook. John maneuvered desperately, dodging blasts, weaving through debris, using every trick he knew. Lyra stayed close, gripping his arm. She did not panic. She had been running all her life, but she had never lost her calm. Hours passed, and the attackers finally retreated. John's ship was damaged but still flying. Lyra looked at him with quiet gratitude. "Why are they after me?" she asked. John shook his head. "I don't know, but we'll figure it out. You're not alone anymore." That night, John could not sleep. He sat in the observation room, staring at the stars. Lyra slept quietly, finally feeling safe. John thought about what had happened. He had rescued a girl from a dying pod, and now he was protecting her from unknown enemies. It was dangerous, reckless, and probably foolish. But he could not turn back. Lyra stirred in her sleep and whispered something. John leaned closer. "My mother," she said, voice soft, almost a sigh. John's heart skipped a beat. There was something in her tone, something he could not understand. He realized that she was not just a girl lost in space. She carried a story, a family, a past that was dangerous enough to make entire fleets chase her. He did not know who her mother was or what power she held, but John made a promise to himself. He would get Lyra home, whatever it took. The stars stretched endlessly outside, cold and indifferent, but inside that small human ship, a bond was forming. One human and one alien, alone together against the galaxy. The journey ahead would be dangerous, and the universe would test them. But for now, John felt a quiet hope. Lyra's hand found his, small and fragile, and squeezed. It was a gesture of trust, of connection, of something neither of them could fully explain. John looked at her and nodded. "We'll make it," he whispered. And for the first time in years, Lyra smiled. Outside, the stars glimmered. Somewhere out there, the galaxy waited. But inside that little ship, a human had rescued a girl who was more than she seemed, and their story was only just beginning. Days passed as John's small ship drifted through the outer lanes of the galaxy. The damage from the attack had been patched as best as it could be, but the ship still shuddered with every small movement. John spent his time checking systems, repairing broken panels, and making sure they had enough supplies. Lyra stayed mostly in the small cabin, resting and slowly regaining her strength. She was quiet, often staring out the window at the stars. John tried to talk to her, but words were difficult. Lyra spoke slowly and carefully, choosing what she said. She was cautious, but John noticed small signs that she was beginning to trust him more. One evening, as John adjusted the ship's course, Lyra entered the control room. She carried a small data pad that seemed old and scratched. Her hands trembled slightly as she held it out to him. "This is mine," she said softly. Her voice was steady but firm. "It contains my records, my family, my people, everything they tried to hide from me." John took the pad carefully. "I won't look without you," he said. She shook her head. "I need you to see this. You need to understand why they want me. I am not just lost. I am the daughter of someone powerful, someone who rules many worlds." John nodded slowly, bracing himself. "Show me." The pad opened, revealing maps, texts, and images of strange cities and ships. John could not understand all of it, but he understood enough. Lyra's people were not just another alien species. They had empires, fleets, and armies that could dominate entire star systems. "They are dangerous," John said finally, looking at her. "And you are important," Lyra nodded. "Important is not the word. My mother rules the empire. If they capture me, they could use me to start wars. They could destroy billions. That is why I had to escape." John felt a chill run through him. He had saved her from the pod, but the galaxy was much larger, much more dangerous than he realized. "Then we need a plan," he said. "We can't just drift out here. They will come after you again." Lyra looked at him, her golden eyes serious. "I do not know where to go. My mother is far. Her worlds are protected, but the routes are dangerous. They watch the borders. We cannot take a direct path." John thought for a moment. "Then we move quietly, avoid the main lanes, stick to abandoned routes. I know a few old stations where no one comes. We can hide there, rest, and plan our next move." Lyra nodded, relief flickering in her eyes. "I will trust you," she said. "But you must know, humans are not seen kindly by many. If they learn you carry me, they may try to kill you." John smiled faintly. "I've been lucky so far. I think I can keep lucky." The next few days were tense. John guided the ship through uncharted territories, avoiding patrols and other travelers. Lyra stayed close, sometimes helping, sometimes just observing. She had knowledge about ships and navigation that surprised John. She could read star charts and recognize patterns that took him hours to understand. One night, while they rested on a small station orbiting a dead planet, Lyra asked John to tell her about humans. She wanted to understand him, his world, and why he had chosen to help her when so many others would have left her to die. John chuckled softly. "Humans are not perfect. We fight. We hurt each other sometimes, but we also help. We survive because we care, even when it is dangerous. I don't know why I helped you, maybe because someone had helped me once, a long time ago. Or maybe because I could not leave a life behind, even if it was strange, even if it was dangerous." Lyra listened quietly. "You are strange," she said finally. "Most humans would not have risked themselves. Most would have ignored me." John shrugged. "Maybe, or maybe humans just care more than they let others see." For the first time, Lyra smiled, faint but real. It was a small gesture, but it made John feel lighter. Their peace did not last long. While docked at the station, a group of mercenaries appeared. They were human and alien, armed with weapons and clearly looking for trouble. They asked questions about John's ship, and when he said there was nothing to report, one of them laughed. "You're hiding someone," the leader said. "We know she's here. Don't waste our time." John's heart raced. He stepped forward. "I don't know what you mean," he said calmly. The mercenary narrowed his eyes. "Don't lie to us, human. We've been tracking a girl from the Northern Empire. If she's on your ship, you will regret it." Lyra stood behind him, tense. She did not speak, but John could feel her fear. He could see how small she looked compared to the large men and aliens around them. But he also noticed something else, her calm. She had been hunted before, and she had survived. "I will not give her to you," John said firmly. "She is under my protection." The mercenaries laughed, but there was no humor in it. "You don't understand. We are not here for threats. We are here for the highest reward in the sector. You give her to us, or we will take her by force." John clenched his fists. He could see that negotiation would not work. He looked at Lyra. "Can you move?" he whispered. Lyra nodded. "Yes, but you must act quickly." John made a decision. He activated the ship's emergency thrusters. The small station shook as the ship lifted off. The mercenaries fired, but John knew the station well. He used hidden routes and old tunnels through the orbiting debris. Lyra watched him, her golden eyes sharp, as the ship maneuvered through the dangerous space. Hours later, they were free, drifting in quiet space again. Lyra exhaled softly. "Thank you," she said. John shook his head. "No, you thank me for trusting me. I could not leave you behind." Lyra studied him for a moment. "I do not fully understand humans. You are different from what I expected. Strong yet gentle, dangerous yet careful." John smiled. "That is a lot of words for one sentence." She smiled faintly. "I have learned to be careful with words," she said. The journey continued. Lyra began to talk more about her past, though carefully. She told John about her mother, the queen of a vast empire, a ruler whose decisions affected millions of lives. Lyra had been taken from her home when she was very young, escaping assassination attempts and political enemies. She had survived in hiding, moving from place to place, learning to avoid detection. John listened, understanding more of the danger she carried. The galaxy was vast, but enemies were patient. They waited, hunted, and followed trails with persistence. John realized that their journey home would be filled with more danger than he had imagined. One night, as they rested near an asteroid field, Lyra opened the data pad again. She showed John a map of her mother's empire, highlighting safe routes, places to avoid, and areas where loyalists might help them. "This is not a full guide," she said. "Many of these places are unknown. Many are dangerous, but it is all I have." John studied the map. "We will use it slowly, carefully. We will get you home." Lyra looked at him, eyes full of trust. "I believe you," she said. John felt a surge of determination. He had saved her once, but now he was making a promise. He would get her home, through every danger, every enemy, every trap the galaxy laid before them. Days turned into weeks. John and Lyra learned to work together. She taught him about alien systems, and he taught her about human ways of survival. They shared meals, stories, and small jokes that made the long hours bearable. A quiet bond grew between them, unspoken but strong. But danger was never far. Scouts, mercenaries, and spies continued to track them. Every day was a careful balance of speed and stealth, trust and caution. John knew that one mistake could mean capture, or worse, for both of them. One evening, while traveling near a dense nebula, the ship's sensors detected something unusual. A fleet, small but fast, was moving toward them. Lyra's eyes widened. "They are coming," she whispered. John nodded. "Then we fight smart. We will not run blindly." For the first time, Lyra began to act not as a passenger but as a partner. She pointed out hidden routes through the nebula, places where they could hide or set traps. John followed her directions, amazed at her skill. The fleet pursued, but John and Lyra were careful, patient, and clever. By the time the enemy realized their mistake, John's small ship had vanished into the shadows of the nebula. Lyra looked at him, breathing heavily. "You are truly human," she said, awe in her voice. John smiled. "And you are not just a girl in need of rescue. You are someone who can survive, even when the galaxy is against you." The stars stretched endlessly around them, indifferent and cold. But inside that small ship, a bond had grown stronger. John and Lyra were no longer simply rescuer and rescued. They were allies, partners, and friends, ready to face whatever dangers the galaxy would send next. The journey to her mother's empire was long and filled with peril, but one thing was certain. Together, they would survive. And the galaxy had not yet seen the strength of a human protecting one of the most important beings in the universe. The ship floated through the dark space between the star systems. The damage from earlier attacks had been repaired, but John knew they could not stay safe for long. Lyra sat quietly in the cabin, looking at the star maps on her data pad. The lights from distant suns reflected in her golden eyes, and John could see the worry there, even though she tried to hide it. "We are getting close," Lyra said softly. "Not to my home yet, but close to the outer border of my mother's empire." Once we cross, it will be even more dangerous. The patrols are frequent and the borders are heavily monitored." John nodded. He had been a trader his whole life, traveling between systems, but he had never seen anything like this. Fleets of ships patrolled the borders, scanning every vessel that approached. If they were discovered, they would be caught before they even knew what was happening. "Then we move quietly," John said. "Slow and careful. We cannot afford mistakes." Lyra studied him for a moment. "I trust you," she said finally, "but we must plan every step. My enemies are not only outside the Empire. There are spies inside as well. They watch for anyone coming to help me. Humans are not common in my mother's worlds. If they see you with me, it could create even more danger." John understood. The stakes had grown higher. This was no longer a simple rescue. This was a journey through an empire that could destroy them at any moment. He felt a cold weight in his chest but pushed it aside. He would get Lyra home, no matter what. For the next few days, they traveled through hidden routes, avoiding the main lanes where patrolling ships moved. Lyra guided John, pointing out old trade routes and abandoned stations. Some of them were safe, offering shelter and supplies, but others were traps, abandoned only to lure travelers into ambushes. One night, while resting in a small station orbiting a lifeless moon, Lyra spoke quietly. "I never thought I would see my mother again," she said. Her voice trembled slightly, though she tried to hide it. "I have been hiding for so long, I thought it would be safer to remain lost." John looked at her. "But now you have a chance," he said, "and I won't let anything stop us." She nodded, a faint smile crossing her face. "I believe you," she said, "more than I have believed anyone in a long time." The next day, as they approached a dense asteroid field near the Empire's outer border, their sensors picked up movement. Small ships, fast and silent, were converging on their location. John stiffened. He recognized the shapes. They were scouts, likely sent to track any incoming vessel. "Get ready," he said. "We have company." Lyra studied the scanners. "They are not full fleets, but they are fast and can call for reinforcements. We must be careful." John nodded. He maneuvered the ship into the asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks that floated silently in space. The pursuing scouts tried to follow, firing small energy blasts. John dodged as best as he could, using the rocks for cover. Lyra guided him through narrow passes, calculating routes that would make it difficult for the pursuers to follow. Hours passed. The scouts were persistent, but John and Lyra were clever. Using the asteroid field, they managed to shake most of the pursuers. One or two remained, but they were far behind. "They won't give up easily," Lyra said. "We are near the borders now. The real challenge is coming." John nodded. "Then we keep moving. No mistakes." The ship entered a shadowy region of space where sensors were unreliable. Lyra pointed out hidden routes between patrol zones. "We must move slowly," she said. "One wrong step and we could be trapped." As they moved, Lyra began to share more about her past. She told John of the time she had spent hiding on distant worlds, always moving, never staying in one place too long. She had learned to survive on her own, but it had been lonely. The galaxy was vast, but she had always felt small and vulnerable. John listened, understanding the weight she carried. She had survived alone for years, hunted by enemies she could not name, with no one to trust. And yet here she was, trusting a human she had just met. That trust was rare, and John felt the responsibility of it deeply. The following days were tense. They moved slowly through the border systems, avoiding patrols and scanning stations. Lyra's knowledge of the Empire was invaluable. She knew where hidden sensors were, where patrols changed schedules, and which regions were abandoned. John followed her guidance carefully, trusting her instincts. One evening, while hiding near a small, uninhabited planet, Lyra spoke again. "We are close now," she said. "The next system is heavily monitored. My mother's capital fleet patrols the area. We must avoid detection or we could be captured before we even reach her." John nodded. "Then we use stealth. We move only at night, hide in shadows, and avoid all contact. The journey through the capital system was the most dangerous part yet. John guided the ship through hidden routes and Lyra monitored the patrol patterns. Every small movement was tense, every sensor ping made them jump. They had no room for error. At one point, a large patrol ship scanned their route. John held his breath as the scanner passed over them. Lyra guided him through a narrow gap between two massive satellites. The patrol ship passed without noticing them. "We made it," Lyra whispered. Relief filled her voice. John nodded. "For now." But the hardest part is still ahead. They entered a quiet system, far from the main patrol routes. Lyra told John that the final jump to her mother's homeworld would be the most dangerous. The jump required precise calculations, and any mistake would leave them exposed in open space. John prepared the ship carefully. Lyra worked beside him, checking navigation systems and calculating the jump coordinates. The tension was high, but they worked together, each trusting the other completely. Finally, the ship was ready. John initiated the jump. The stars stretched and warped around them, and for a moment, time seemed to pause. Then they emerged near the edge of the Queen's home system. The system was vast, filled with massive planets, fleets, and stations. Sensors immediately picked up their arrival. John and Lyra held their breath. They had reached the edge of the Empire, but now they were in plain sight of their enemies. "Stay calm," Lyra whispered. "We are almost there. My mother's palace is protected, but we must reach it without alerting patrols. If we fail, it will not only be my life at risk, but yours as well." John nodded. He had never faced anything like this before. Entire fleets could destroy their small ship in minutes, but he knew he could not turn back. They moved carefully through the system, hiding in asteroid belts and debris fields. Lyra guided John, warning him of patrol ships and sensor stations. Every maneuver was precise, every decision critical. As they approached the inner system, John noticed something strange. A large fleet was moving directly toward them, faster than normal patrols. Lyra's eyes widened. "They know we are here," she said. "They are coming for us." John's hands gripped the controls. "Then we do not wait, we move fast, we fight smart." The fleet closed in. They fired warning shots, but John used the debris fields and small moons to dodge them. Lyra helped him find weak points in their formation, guiding him with calm precision. Hours passed, and the fleet began to spread out, trying to trap them. John realized they could not outrun everyone. They would have to fight if they wanted to survive. "Prepare for combat," he said. "We may not be able to avoid them all." Lyra nodded, her expression serious but calm. She had survived much worse in her life. Now she stood beside him, ready to face the danger. The first shots hit near the ship, shaking it violently. John maneuvered, dodging blasts while returning fire with the ship's small weapons. Lyra monitored the fleet, guiding him to weak spots. Together, they worked as a team, moving in ways that neither could have done alone. Hours passed, and the fleet began to retreat, realizing that capturing a small, agile ship in the asteroid belts was too difficult. John and Lyra breathed a sigh of relief. They were battered but alive. Lyra looked at John, eyes shining. "You are not just a human," she said softly. "You are stronger than anyone I have ever known." John shook his head. "I'm not strong. I care about you. That makes me fight harder," she smiled faintly. "Then we are both lucky," she said. The stars stretched endlessly around them, cold and distant. But inside the small ship, a bond had grown stronger. John and Lyra were not just rescuer and rescued. They were partners, allies, and friends, facing the galaxy together. Now, the final challenge awaited. Reaching the Queen's homeworld safely, without alerting the Empire, and delivering Lyra back to the mother who had mourned her for years. The journey to the heart of the Empire was only beginning, and danger lay ahead at every step. But John knew one thing for certain. He would protect Lyra, no matter what the galaxy sent their way. The stars glimmered, silent witnesses to their courage, and the human and the alien girl pressed forward, ready for whatever came next. The small ship glided through the outer edge of the Queen's capital system. John kept the controls steady, his hands tense. Every second brought them closer to the heart of the Empire. Patrol ships moved in and out of orbit, scanning for any unusual activity. Lyra sat beside him, watching the sensors carefully, her golden eyes focused and alert. "This is it," she said softly. "The next jump takes us directly to my mother's palace orbit. Once we are there, we are inside the heart of the Empire. There is no hiding." John swallowed hard. He had faced pirates, mercenaries, and fleets of unknown enemies, but this was different. They were approaching the center of a vast empire, ruled by a queen whose power was unmatched. One mistake now could mean the end, not just for them, but for anyone who tried to help. "Then we do it carefully," John said. "Slow, quiet, precise, no mistakes." Lyra nodded. "Yes. My mother is powerful, but she will not harm me. Not if I reach her, but others in the court may not be so kind. They may see you, a human, as a threat. We must be careful with your presence." John glanced at her. "I'm not leaving. Whatever happens, I'm with you." She looked at him, a flicker of emotion crossing her face. "Thank you," she whispered. The jump into the inner system was tense. Stars stretched and warped around them, and John held his breath, knowing that if the calculations were even slightly off, they could be destroyed or immediately detected. Lyra monitored the systems, guiding him with calm precision. When the jump was complete, they emerged near a massive planet surrounded by fleets and stations. The planet was vast, its surface covered in shining cities and towers that seemed to touch the clouds. In orbit, massive ships moved in perfect formation, their weapons and shields a clear reminder of the Empire's strength. John looked at the planet, awed and nervous. "This is enormous," he said quietly. Lyra nodded. "Yes, this is my home. My mother rules from here. And she has waited for me." They moved carefully through the patrol zones, avoiding main paths and using hidden corridors in orbit. Lyra's knowledge of her people's systems was invaluable. She pointed out patrol patterns, safe points, and even the areas where they could signal her mother's palace without drawing attention. Finally, they reached a quiet orbit just above the palace. The palace itself floated on a massive platform, shining under the light of the sun. Ships moved around it, but there was a calm, almost sacred energy to the place. Lyra looked at it, her golden eyes glistening with emotion. "My mother is waiting," she whispered. "I can feel it." John turned to her. "Then we do this carefully. You go to her and I'll stay here." "Or do you want me with you?" Lyra shook her head. "No, this is my moment. You brought me here. You saved me. But this is between my mother and me." John nodded. He felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. He had carried her through danger, faced fleets, and kept her alive. Now, the moment he had feared and hoped for had arrived. Lyra descended from the ship onto the palace platform. The doors opened automatically as she approached. The interior was enormous, filled with light and quiet power. Guards and attendants paused, watching her, recognizing her immediately. She walked calmly but with purpose, her steps confident despite years of hiding and fear. At the center of the hall stood the queen. She was enormous, even by alien standards, her presence commanding and regal. Her golden eyes met Lyra's, and for a moment time seemed to stop. The queen's expression was calm at first, but then it shifted. Her breath caught. Her eyes widened and her hands trembled slightly. "My daughter," she whispered, her voice breaking. You are alive." Lyra ran forward, her steps quick but careful. "Mother," she cried, her voice filled with emotion. She reached the queen and embraced her, holding on tightly. The queen's tears fell freely, shining like golden drops on her pale skin. John watched from the ship, heart pounding. He could see the emotion radiating from the palace. The queen, feared by millions across the galaxy, wept openly as she held her daughter. Lyra held her mother tightly, whispering words John could not hear. The court was silent. Guards and attendants watched, unsure how to act. The queen, known for her strict and unyielding rule, had never displayed such emotion. The entire empire paused, even if only for a moment, as the mother and daughter reunited. After a long moment, the queen pulled back slightly, looking at Lyra with eyes filled with relief, love, and sorrow. "You have survived," she said. "All these years I feared you were gone. And yet here you are," Lyra nodded. "I am here, mother, thanks to him." She paused, glancing at John in orbit. "A human saved me. He risked everything to bring me home." The queen's eyes shifted to John. For the first time, she looked at a human closely. Her gaze was intense, filled with curiosity, respect, and disbelief. Humans were considered weak by her people, fragile and untrustworthy. And yet here was one, standing between her daughter and danger, carrying her safely through the galaxy. "You," the queen whispered. "You are the one who saved my daughter," John nodded, feeling nervous under her intense gaze. "Yes, your majesty. I promised her I would keep her safe, and I did." The queen's expression softened slightly. She looked at her daughter again, then back at John. "You have done what many of my fleet could not. You protected her when all others failed. You are extraordinary." Lyra smiled, tears still in her eyes. "He is extraordinary," she said firmly. The queen extended a hand. "Come forward, human, come into the palace." John hesitated, then moved forward slowly. He had never imagined he would be welcomed into the heart of an alien empire. But here he was, standing before a queen whose power was unmatched, whose presence could command entire fleets, and who had just wept for her lost child. The queen led him through the palace, speaking softly to Lyra as they walked. Guards watched but did not interfere. The hallways were enormous, filled with light and strange technology. John felt both awe and nervousness as he followed them. Finally, they reached a chamber at the heart of the palace. The queen turned to John. "You have saved my daughter," she said. "For that, you are not an outsider here. You are honored. You will be remembered." John felt a strange warmth in his chest. He had never expected recognition or reward. He had only done what he felt was right. And yet, here was a queen powerful beyond imagination, honoring him for his courage. The queen looked at her daughter again. "Tell me everything," she said. "How did you survive? Who hunted you? Who protected you?" Lyra began to speak, slowly and carefully, telling the story of the pod, of John rescuing her, of the dangers they had faced together. The queen listened intently, tears still in her eyes, her hands resting gently on her daughter's shoulders. When Lyra finished, the queen turned to John once more. "You have done more than I could have imagined. You have crossed the galaxy, faced enemies, and delivered my daughter safely into my arms. For that, you have my gratitude, my respect, and my protection." John nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "Thank you, your majesty. I only did what I had to do." The queen smiled faintly, her tears drying. "You are not like the humans my people feared. You are brave, loyal, and wise. You have proven that even the smallest beings can have great strength." Lyra hugged her mother again, feeling safe for the first time in years. John watched, feeling a sense of pride and relief. He had risked everything, and it had been worth it. For the first time in many years, the palace was filled with light, warmth, and hope. The queen, her daughter, and the human who had saved her stood together, a quiet but powerful force against the dangers of the galaxy. Outside, the Empire's fleets continued their patrols, unaware that one human had changed the course of events. Inside the palace, the mother and daughter wept, laughed, and shared stories. And John, once a simple trader, found himself honored in the heart of a galaxy far larger and more dangerous than he had ever known. Lyra turned to John. "You will stay here?" she asked softly. He shook his head. "I cannot stay forever. But I will always be near enough to protect you if needed." The queen smiled. "Your presence is welcome here," she said, "and your courage will be remembered across the empire. You are not just a human who saved a girl. You are a hero in our eyes." John looked at the queen, then at Lyra, feeling the weight of everything they had endured. They had faced fleets, mercenaries, and the dangers of the galaxy itself. And now, finally, they were safe together in the heart of the Empire. The stars outside continued to shine, indifferent and eternal. But inside the palace, the warmth of reunion, trust, and courage filled the air. The galaxy had not yet seen the full strength of a human protecting one of its most important beings, but it would not forget it any time soon. And for John and Lyra, the journey had reached a moment of peace, though new challenges would come. For now, they had survived. And the queen, who had wept for her lost daughter, could finally feel hope again. The palace was quiet after the reunion. The queen and Lyra spent hours together, speaking softly, sharing memories and stories of the past. John remained nearby, in a small chamber provided by the palace, but he could hear their laughter and the occasional murmur of serious conversation. It was a strange feeling, being in the heart of an empire that spanned hundreds of worlds. John had traveled through danger and fear to reach this moment, and yet he felt calm. Lyra returned to him later that evening. She had changed somehow. The tension, the fear, the constant hiding, it had all been replaced with a quiet strength and relief. She smiled at John, her golden eyes shining. "Come," she said, "my mother wishes to honor you." John followed her through the long halls of the palace. Guards and attendants watched, but no one stopped them. The queen waited in a grand chamber, her presence commanding as always, yet her eyes softened whenever she looked at her daughter. "John," the queen said as he approached, "you have proven yourself beyond measure. You have risked everything to bring my daughter home safely. That courage, loyalty, and wisdom cannot go unrecognized." John shook his head. "I only did what anyone would have done. I could not leave her behind." The queen smiled faintly. "Perhaps, but humans are often underestimated in my empire. They are considered weak, fragile, and incapable of great deeds. You have proven otherwise. You have shown that courage and loyalty are not limited by species." She motioned to one of the attendants, who brought forward a small ceremonial object. It was a medallion shining with symbols of the empire. The queen placed it around John's neck. "This is the mark of honor," she said. "It is not given lightly. You have earned it, human. Across the empire, your name will be remembered. You will be recognized as the protector of the royal bloodline." John touched the medallion, feeling the weight of it. He had never expected recognition or reward. He had only acted because it was right. And yet here he was, honored in the heart of a galaxy far larger than he had ever imagined. Lyra stood beside him, smiling. "You deserve it," she said softly. "You risked your life for me when no one else would. I will never forget it." The queen looked at them both, her expression serious but warm. "The Empire has been cautious of humans for many generations. Many feared their weakness. Others dismissed them as unworthy of trust. But you, John, have changed that perception. You have shown that a single human can act with courage, loyalty, and wisdom beyond measure. For that, you have my respect and my protection." John nodded, feeling a mixture of pride and humility. He had traveled through danger, faced enemies, and carried a girl through the galaxy. And now, his actions were honored by a ruler whose power spanned hundreds of worlds. Over the next few days, John remained at the palace. Lyra guided him through her world, showing him the fleets, the cities, and the strange technology of her people. He was amazed by the scale of the empire, the precision of its fleets, and the complexity of its politics. Yet despite the power and the fear that the empire could inspire, John saw a softer side, a side that Lyra and her mother shared, one of care, love, and hope. During this time, the court began to hear stories of the human who had saved the princess. Whispers spread quickly. Some were skeptical, others were amazed, but no one could deny that John had done something extraordinary. One day, the queen summoned the council of the empire. Representatives from every world gathered, their expressions cautious. The queen spoke, her voice calm but powerful. "Citizens of the empire," she said, For many years, humans have been seen as weak outsiders, incapable of loyalty or courage. Today, that perception has changed. A human named John has saved my daughter, protected her from danger, and delivered her safely into my arms. He has acted with courage and wisdom beyond expectation. I honor him, and I ask you to recognize his deeds. The council was silent at first. Then, one by one, they nodded, murmuring agreements. The queen's words carried weight, and the recognition of John spread quickly. Across the empire, humans would no longer be dismissed. His courage had redefined what it meant to be human in the eyes of a powerful civilization. Lyra turned to John after the council. "You have done more than I could have imagined," she said softly. "Not only did you save me, but you changed the way an entire empire sees humans." John shook his head. "I only did what I had to do. You were in danger, that's all that mattered." Lyra smiled, her eyes shining. "It mattered more than you know. You have given hope to more than just me. You have given hope to humans and to anyone who believes courage is stronger than fear." Days turned into weeks. John learned more about Lyra's world, its people, and its ways. He helped her plan defenses and shared strategies he had learned during their travels. He became more than a visitor. He became a trusted ally. One evening, Lyra and John stood together on a balcony overlooking the capital city. The lights stretched for miles, a vast network of buildings, towers, and moving fleets. The air was quiet, almost peaceful, but John knew the Empire's strength was always present. "Do you ever wish you could go back?" Lyra asked softly. "To your home, your life before all this?" John shook his head. "I used to think about it," he said. "But now I don't know. My life was simple, yes, but it was lonely. This feels important. I helped you. I faced danger. And I've learned more than I ever could have imagined. Maybe this is where I'm meant to be, even if only for a time." Lyra smiled faintly. "You have changed so much," she said. "And yet you are still the same person I trusted in the beginning. That is why I believe in you." John looked at her, feeling a quiet warmth. Their journey had begun with fear and uncertainty, but it had grown into something stronger, a bond of trust, loyalty, and respect. The Queen summoned them again soon after. She had a new mission for John. Not as a simple human traveler, but as a representative of honor, courage, and loyalty. She asked him to help establish relations with other human worlds, showing that humans could act with wisdom and bravery. John agreed, knowing this was a chance to make a lasting difference. As the weeks continued, Lyra began to take her place beside her mother in court, rebuilding connections and ensuring her people's safety. John remained close, not just as a protector, but as a trusted advisor. Together, they worked to strengthen the empire and its relationships, showing that courage and loyalty could bridge species and worlds. One day, as they walked through the palace gardens, Lyra turned to John. "Do you know what you have done?" she asked softly. John shook his head. "I only saved you, that's all." She smiled, her eyes bright. "You have changed the galaxy, not just for me or for my mother, but for all humans. You showed that we can trust them, that they can be brave and loyal. You have rewritten what it means to be human in the eyes of my empire." John felt a quiet pride. He had never imagined this would happen when he found her drifting in a pod, injured and alone. And yet here he was, honored by a queen, trusted by a princess, and recognized across an entire empire. The queen watched them from a distance, her expression proud and relieved. Her daughter was safe, the human who had saved her was honored, and the empire had learned an important lesson. Courage, loyalty, and goodness could be found in the most unlikely places, even in a single human. Outside, the stars continued to shine, indifferent to the lives below. But within the palace, the warmth of family, friendship, and honor filled the air. Lyra and John had faced the dangers of the galaxy together, and their bond had grown stronger than any fleet, stronger than any fear. As the Empire adjusted to this new understanding, humans would be remembered not as weak outsiders, but as beings capable of courage, loyalty, and great deeds. John had shown them that even one human could change the course of events, and that example would not be forgotten. One evening, Lyra and John stood together, watching the fleets move in precise formation, their lights glinting under the sun. Lyra leaned on John's shoulder. "You are extraordinary," she said softly, "and I am grateful for every moment you risked for me." John smiled. "I only did what I had to do, but I'm glad it mattered." Lyra nodded, her eyes reflecting both relief and hope. "It mattered more than you know. You saved me, my mother, and even the Empire. You have shown that courage can come from anyone, anywhere." John looked at the stars above. He had traveled through danger, faced enemies, and risked everything to save a girl. And in doing so, he had changed more than he could have imagined. The palace was calm, the Empire strong, and the bond between human and princess unbroken. Lyra's mother, the Queen, had regained her lost daughter, and the galaxy had witnessed the courage of one human who chose to act when others hesitated. And as John stood beside Lyra, he knew that whatever challenges the future held, they had already proven something extraordinary. That loyalty, courage, and goodness could cross the vastness of space and change the fate of entire worlds. For the first time in years, they were at peace. But even in peace, the memory of their journey, the dangers they faced, and the trust they built would remain forever. And the galaxy, vast and endless, had watched in awe as a human saved a princess, reunited a mother and daughter, and forever altered the way humans were seen among the stars.